BELLA+CANVAS, and today we're going to talk about printing on one of our signature fabrics, Flowy Poly-Viscose. Flowy is unbeatable in terms of softness and retail appeal, but we know it can be intimidating for some of you printers out there who aren't used to printing on this fabric. We've gotten a bunch of requests to do a video about printing on Flowy, so today we're going to show you some different screen printing techniques and tips for getting amazing results on this fabric.
So here at Deluxe, we carry the full Flowy collection. Today we're going to print water-based inks on the Flowy collection. We're going to work with the light colored garment and we're going to work with a colored garment. So today we're going to go and show you how to print these two and how they're going to read on these fabrics. Depending on the color of the garment, water-based does look different from one piece to the other. With water-based, it is a sensitive type of ink. We tend to use this on light garments. When you print a solid design, it's best to use soft inks and not use, for example, plastisol. Because with water-based, you don't have a hand feel, so they saturate in the fibers of the fabrics. With plastisol, that sits on top of the fabric fibers, so you do have a hand feel. It's important to really review the fabric itself, what we're printing on, and review the artwork, because the artwork is also very important. Today we're printing a 3-color print, and we're working with water-based inks on light fabrics. In terms of the Flowy, we like to use the spray adhesive so that it can stick on better. Water-based, it's a very sensitive ink. We have to work with it in cool temperatures. We have to keep the ink moistened. Sometimes we have to use a spray bottle to keep it moist. The inks tend to harden up. Water-based takes longer to cure than plastisol. So usually when we print water-based in discharge, sometimes we have to adjust the belt temperature as well as the speed temperature. So with a white shirt, your colors are gonna pop more because it's a light colored garment. And on the gray color, your colors are gonna look a little bit more muted and a little more like a vintage look.
So today we're printing on dark colors. We're working with the Flowy collection. We're gonna do a version of plastisol with a base, and we're gonna also do a version with water-based with a base. So when printing with plastisol, you want to remember, especially with the Flowy collection, the garments are very flowy and soft. So you kind of want to work with some art that is not too solid, because that solidness, you will fill it and will add some weight. So the best thing to do is to kind of keep that in mind. Pick an art that has like lines in it, so it's not solid. So on here we're using a base, and in particular we're using poly blocker. Sometimes with these types of fabrics, like the polyester or anything that's got like polyester rayon, we'll do something which is called dye migration, and that happens with the heat in the curing process. So to help prevent that, we want to use a poly blocker. So in this case, we are laying down a base with a poly blocker, specific poly blocker on it, and then printing our plastisol on top. So we've gone from plastisol, now we can do a water-based version, which is going to be lighter. Or in this case, this has a little more full coverage of ink. So water-based is a good way to go because it's not going to fill as thick and you don't have to worry as much as the plastisol. But because we're printing on the Flowy, we do need to consider dye migration. And even with water-based, there are bases that you can use that have poly blockers to it. So in this case, we are using a water-based poly blocker and a water-based white on top of here. Traditional water-based is going to be more acrylic base. It's going to be a little bit more transparent. If we were to print that on here, you would totally lose it. The other option would be discharge, but because this is not 100% cotton, then we have to go with a water-based that will work on this type of fabric. So next, we're going to go ahead and go to the back, and we're going to print both the plastisol and a water-based version. So we're doing a rose design. It's a 2-color plus base, and we're doing it in plastisol. Plastisol is a standard ink. It's very easy to work with because it doesn't dry, handles really well. So most shops, it's going to be their #1 ink. So he's going to put down a super poly white, which is we're going to use for a base, and that is going to help with any dye migration issues that may occur or may not occur. And then we're going to flash that or dry it, and then we're going to put our 2 colors of plastisol on top. So on the unisex poly-viscose, we're printing a water-based ink. Because this design has more ink coverage, we want to still, work within that flowiness. We're choosing water-based for that so that it's not as heavy as plastisol would be. So right now he's laying down a poly blocker base, which is going to help with dye migration. He's going to print it a couple of times and then he's going to flash it. What we mean by flashing it is that he's going to dry it. And that way we can put our second layer of the regular white water base on top. So he's going to apply a little bit of silicone and then he's going to do about 2 more strokes on there. So we have a nice white coverage on there.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know if you have any questions about what we covered in the comments below. And a big shout out to Charlie Pangus. He's the artist who designed all the graphics for today's video. We'll link to his channel in the description below. See you next time.